Christians are often told certain things about Islam, by media, by culture, sometimes even by other Christians. But the question is, do those claims match what the sources actually say? Today we're going to look at three of the most common claims and examine them historically and textually. This isn't about attacking Muslims, it's about understanding what is true. When something is repeated often enough, it starts to feel unquestionable. But truth isn't determined by repetition. It's determined by evidence. Today, we're going to investigate three claims. So let's start with the first claim. Claim number 1. Islam is a religion of peace. This is one of the most common statements Christians hear, and on the surface, it sounds straightforward. But the question is not what sounds good. The question is, what do the sources actually say? The word Islam is often associated with peace, but more precisely, it refers to submission to Allah. Because in the Qur'an, peace is not described as a universal condition for all people at all times. For example, Surah Al-Anfal states, "Fight them until there is no more persecution and religion is devoted to Allah alone." And in Qur'an 9:29 it says, "Fight those who do not believe in Allah from among the people of the book until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued." These verses are often understood in a historical context, particularly in relation to conflict during Muhammad's lifetime. But they also became part of a broader legal and theological framework within classical Islam. And this is where the concept of jihad becomes important. In Islamic tradition, jihad can refer to different kinds of struggle, including spiritual struggle, but also armed conflict. Historically, this included military expansion. And in the modern world, some groups have appealed to these same texts to justify violence. Many Muslims reject those interpretations, but the fact that these arguments are made from the same sources raises an important question. If these texts can be understood in different ways, how should they be interpreted? So when people say Islam is a religion of peace, the real question is, what kind of peace and under what conditions? Claim number 2, Islam treats women well. Again, this is something many Christians hear regularly. But instead of looking at modern examples or cultural practices, we need to ask a more foundational question. What do the earliest Islamic sources say? In the Qur'an, Surah An-Nisa 4:34 states, "Men are caretakers of women, and those you fear rebellion from, advise them, forsake them in bed, and strike them." This verse is widely discussed. Some interpret strike as symbolic or limited. Others understand it more literally. In inheritance law, women typically receive half the share of men. In legal testimony, 2 women are equated to 1 man in certain financial cases. In Sahih al-Bukhari, there is a narration describing women as deficient in intelligence and religion, often explained in connection with legal and ritual distinctions. And in Sahih Muslim, Aisha recounts an incident where Muhammad struck her on the chest, and she states that it caused her pain. This narration is interpreted differently. Some understand it as a light or corrective action, while others see it as raising ethical questions. Some modern scholars challenge or reinterpret aspects of these texts. But historically, they have been widely accepted within the tradition. So the question becomes, what standard are we using when we say treated well? This doesn't mean there is no dignity or value given to women, but it does mean the claim is more complex than it is often presented. Now to the third claim. Claim number 3. Christians and Muslims worship the same God. This is often said in an attempt to build common ground. But the real question is not about intention, it's about identity. Do the descriptions of God actually match? In the Bible, God is revealed relationally. Jesus teaches in Matthew 6:9, "This then is how you should pray, our Father in heaven." God is consistently described as Father. But in the Qur'an, Surah Al-Ikhlas states, "He neither begets nor is born." Associating partners with Allah is explicitly rejected. In Christianity, God is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, one God in 3 persons. In Islam, God is absolutely one, without that relational distinction. So while both traditions use the word God, the attributes, nature, and relationship being described are not the same. At minimum, this raises a serious question. Are we using the same word to describe the same being, or different understandings of God? At this point, some might say, these verses are being taken out of context, or there are different interpretations. And that's true. Interpretation does exist, but that raises a deeper question. If these texts can be understood in multiple ways, which interpretation reflects how they have been historically applied? And which interpretation is being presented when these claims are simplified? The goal here is not to deny complexity. It's to make sure complexity isn't used to avoid the question. These three claims that Islam is a religion of peace, that it treats women well, and that Christians and Muslims worship the same God are often repeated without careful examination. But when we look at the sources, we find something more nuanced, and in some cases, fundamentally different. If you're watching this, whether Christian, Muslim, or unsure, don't accept something because it's repeated. Don't reject something because it's uncomfortable. Test it. Read it in context. And think carefully about what it actually says. Then decide. If you're ready to learn, grow, and speak truth in love, join us, subscribe now. The conversation starts here.